Here we go. Oh, shit. GFW radio. Listen to our podcast. Yo, yo. Ryan Scott, he is a man. I quit this joint. That was my plan.
Voices.
Who's up, voices?
You're up.
We're up.
Before we officially start, I just wanted to say a few quick thanks, mostly to the people at PAX who donated this room for free. I also want to personally thank Kahil White, Bill Butler, Ben Curran, Bill Madron for their enthusiasm, hard work, and ability to get things done. They put a lot of work into the artwork that you'll see later. Also, I also wanted to thank everyone that donated money. Originally, we were going to have to rent the room, and all that money, well, the people that, there was some money that went back, but we had about $900 that we're going to be donating to Child's Play. Thanks to you guys. I'd also like to thank these 5 gentlemen at the front of the room, and please welcome a man who flew to Seattle on a flaming burrito and woke up on the bathroom floor only minutes ago, the Peggle Code begging Lord of the Rings himself, Jeff Green.
Hello.
The guy who invented the Monopoly scoring system for PC games and the This But This format of game reviewing, getting ready for Frodo's birthday, the real Tingle, Sean Malloy.
Yeah!
Hi.
A dolphin that can sing like a chicken, straight from Chernobyl with the bruises to prove it, George Lucas's worst nightmare, Robert Ashley. The quiet one with a burning hatred of Mark Miller and snack machines around the world, direct from Dharmaville. Hell yeah, it's Ryan Scott.
What the hell?
A prankster with a degree in giving customers the pickle, straight out of a Second Life acid trip, chomping on candy, the Punisher of video games. He's here to protect you, Sean Elliott.
And we got to thank that man there talking is Aaron Simmer. He's the one who goaded us into all doing this. So thank that guy. I got to say it, right? I got to start off with the catchphrase, right? Hello and welcome to GFW Radio, the big reunion. That's kind of like my dynamite or something. So hello and welcome. It's actually not funny or cool. It's just like you clap when you hear it. Right? Yay, he did it.
Go for the easy line.
So I did it. Another immediate shout out to honorary Brodio member Anthony Gallegos. Please stand up. Anthony was originally going to be on this podcast, but we actually have a pretty strict rule: no Hispanics on this podcast. By the way, if you didn't notice, I crossed out the EA on my name tag here. I'm still with you. I'm just saying I don't represent them here. Okay.
Jeff, why does everything you say sound like it's coming out of a walkie-talkie at the end of the room?
Really?
It's true.
Is it? Am I doing that? We got this rule, by the way. If you've ever never done a live podcast, we got this rule. You got to do this. Okay?
Okay.
You good now?
Okay, I'm good.
All right.
We're fine.
So here we are. We haven't all actually been in the same room in about a year, right? More?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Over
We've been
a
talking to each other, but this is the first time we're all together. And we did prepare more than we ever did in 2 years on the... so that's why it's going to suck. Thank you. Thank you all for coming. We really appreciate it. This is very humbling for us. We don't actually... It does sound like I'm in an airplane, doesn't it? What is that? Okay. We sort of live in our own bubble. Even when we were doing the podcast, we're just doing it in this shitty little room at Ziff Davis. And, we know people are listening, but we don't ever actually, it's not very tangible like this. So to see you guys all here and seeing you guys waiting in line earlier, it's pretty humbling for us. So thank you for all coming. It's really awesome.
More clapping.
Give yourself a hand. I think that's about all we got for you, right?
Yeah, if we keep them clapping, we won't have to come up with anything.
Oh, we were going to do a performance art piece. We were actually just going to tweet. We were going to do the first live tweet cast for about 10 minutes, because that's where media's gone since our magazine folded up. And One Up's still around. Sorry, guys. But we're all gone. I didn't mean that. Didn't mean it. Love One Up.
It would be like a Kraftwerk show. We could just sit here.
Yeah, exactly. I think we should all just tweet to each other. And you guys could read it. So if you all load up your Twitter. All right, that joke, never mind.
Okay.
Let's move on. One more thing I want to say. And that's that even though our magazine went down the drain and they moved us all online and that didn't work out, and now we're all elsewhere, I do want to say that I feel like it was a great sacrifice so that the Games for Windows platform could live on. Thank you. All right. What are we gonna do now? We're gonna do stuff.
Yeah, well,
Sean Elliott's prepared a bunch of
by
stuff as
popular
usual.
demand, everyone wanted Heroes of the Web to return, and I sort of stopped doing it at the tail end of GFW Radio because when I started, that stuff was genuinely fascinating to me. I just couldn't believe that such things existed. And what happens in psychology is known as adaptation. Essentially, you're overexposed to something and it just becomes mundane to you. So it wouldn't matter what it was, I'd spent so much time on the internet that, I'm pretty much horrified to say that I could see anything, and it was no different than any trip through a Walmart. But I found something with the help of animereality.com, which is a site that was inspired, I hear, from Bruce there by the Hero of the Web stuff, and he found some nice material on a site called diaperedanime.com that we're just going to have to kick off with now. Go ahead, Jeff.
I'm sorry in advance.
I also just want to say that Sean demanded that we do a cold reading of this.
He
and
did, so we didn't see it.
He handed me the copy of it, and I started reading my part, and I was like, what the fuck is this
I know.
about?
This is just nasty stuff.
I don't even understand it.
I actually would like my wife and daughter and mom now to turn this off and turn it back on in about 10 minutes.
It's
Thanks.
not that bad.
Dude.
It is?
It's diaper fans who are also anime fans, and the two interests happen to come together in what you're about to read.
Okay.
Fucking read it.
Here we go. Am I just starting off with the first thing? Does it need no more
If
intro?
you feel inspired, just go ahead, find the
All right,
the
here we
right
go.
voice for
All
it.
right.
Just make sure, there's a thread title, right? And the thread title is...
Oh, on your most embarrassing experience being found out by family. All right. I had one just last week. My mom found one of my used diapers in the trash and was pestering my brother and I all day long trying to find out who did it. I was scared for 2 days straight, thinking I might have to tell them. I just waited, and she blamed it on my grandma soon enough. So I got off the hook.
Delicious. So that was Chaos DX.
Oh, that was Chaos DX. We should credit.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chaos DX, for your diaper fantasy.
And my character is Yammy Joey's dog. Let's see. My worst was I was downstairs. Everyone had gone to bed, or so I thought, and I was padded and messy. When all of a sudden, I heard footsteps coming down the stairs. One mad dash into the closet later, and I then recalled I left my shorts in the living room, so I had nothing to hide the stinky diaper with. Emoticon that I don't understand. I ended up taking it off, cleaning up as best I could, and dashing out of the closet with a towel around my waist. Emoticon that I don't understand. Like, seriously, what is that?
I don't know what
You don't
that
want to
is.
know.
Anyway.
You're a better man for not knowing.
Oh, it's me again. Sean didn't give himself any.
I did too.
Oh, no,
right?
you did. Okay. All right, this is Poopy Diaper Girl. Shit.
I'm gonna eat a donut.
Just the first time in your life you've had hundreds of people like waiting in line to listen to you, and look what you're doing. How do you feel?
Okay, all right. My most, no, it's a girl's. My most, nah, my.
Yes.
No, that was a good one. That one.
That one.
I'm getting hoarse here, all right.
My most embarrassing moment had to be the day when I was 10. I was at the park and a boy I liked was there, and I got nervous that he was there, and I pooped my pants. Too bad for me, I was wearing white khaki pants. And it seeped through my panties, so everyone saw that big brown lump in my pants as I left the park. Sadly for me, I rode my bike home.
Bring it home though.
I'll bring it up.
But that was when I was young. And now I poop my pants all the time now. But it was embarrassing when I was little.
How are you
But
still
that's why
eating
it's
that
hot.
donut?
But
Yeah,
she was
that's hot.
embarrassed. That's what got it. Like, that's what turned her on.
And me, too.
In a mysterious twist, it turned out that none other than Robert Ashley has an alt account on diaperedanime.com. And he's known as HTE Man.
Yeah.
Dude, weed is awesome to smoke. I wish Obama cannot legalize but decriminalize so us bud smokers can smoke bud without lawful persecution. Think of it this way. If wearing diapers for enjoyment was illegal, would you break the law and enjoy wearing them or whatever else? We still get some persecution from people by enjoying to wear them so much since there isn't a law for wearing them, and most people don't see it as enjoyable and persecute us. Because having weed illegal is unconstitutional, and that would be the same thing if they legalized diapers for enjoyment and make that illegal but unconstitutional. So it comes down to the Constitution, which has been ignored by the ignorant government we live in.
Can I just point out that the copy that I got, his next line doesn't say that at
Yeah,
all.
mine neither.
You have a
made that
different
up.
copy. The other thing, if you want one more, I left it on there and I crossed it out because I'm like, that's going to be too much. We don't want to spend too much time reading. But the sad thing about that guy is that, well, he has daddy issues, but I mean, that's not like that surprising when he's on there on the shit pant anime thing. What's not even clear?
That's the
what it
sad
has
thing,
to
that
do
he has
with
daddy
anime.
issues.
It doesn't even say anything about anime. But his whole thing was that, okay, I'll just read. This part's pretty sad. He's like, I never told my parents any of this, but one day about 2 or 3 years ago, my mom found my diapers under my dresser and all hell broke loose. First of all, she is angry, but then she calmed down and she thought I had a problem. I lied my way out of it by telling her that I had bedwetting problems at night and sometimes, and she bought it. Not the diapers, but the lie. And we talked for a few minutes, and none of this surfaced ever again. But the next day, my dad came home all high, and he and my mom got into a fight, and my mom called the police. And my dad used the 4th and 6th Amendment rights, and the police never came into the house. And my mom left for a bit and came home, and after the police left, my dad brought me and my sister into his room and talked to us about the mess. And he told me to stay, and my sister left. He talked to me about what my mom told my dad, because in the place where I kept the diapers, she also found some Penthouse magazines. And me and my dad had the birds and bees talk. After that, I wanted to talk to him about pot and if we could smoke it together, because I smoke pot every now and then, but not constantly. And I want to smoke more now because I believe that he had a good source. But maybe one day I'll get to smoke with him someday.
Wow. People always give a shit about never talking about PC games. I don't know why. Is that it? Is that the end of the podcast? Do we have more? I think we have a
that's the end of that
whiskey
shit.
nerd.
Well, no,
later.
yeah, there's a whiskey nerd.
Later, whiskey nerd's going to show up.
Oh, okay.
Do we have a topic we want to talk about?
Go
No.
for it.
All right.
Actually, but before we have
go ahead.
a topic, I just wanted to I was telling Sean that I had a sort of semi-amazing PAX experience story, that I was going up to interview someone today at the Sheraton, and I got into the elevator, and you know all those guys that you see around town with the LSU stuff, because I guess there's a football game?
Yeah.
Well, there was a guy in there with a purple like a purple, windbreaker LSU hat, and he had this like crazy big hat on, and he smelled like a disgusting old bar or something, like a coelacanth. And he looks over at me and the people I was interviewing, and he was like, "Are you guys gamers?" Seriously. And the dudes with me are like, "Yeah." And he's like, "There's a lot of weird ones out there today." And I just, off the cuff, because for some reason I've been researching lately teledildonics. I was like, yeah, well, what's really weird is it's all about sex. Like, all these people are here because they get on the World of Warcraft and they have virtual sex with each other with machines that they buy that they can like wash in the dishwasher, and there's dildos and all these weird things you can attach to your penis. And
I forgot to mention there's a child and his mother in the elevator.
Yeah. So, the kid must have been at least 11, which is passable. But the mom like grabbed the kid and like brought him close, and the guy was like, "You gotta be kidding me! You gotta be kidding me!" And as we got out of the elevator, and we were kind of lucky to get away in time, he was like, "You boys should learn to play baseball."
When Robert came back from this interview and told us this story, I immediately called bullshit because last night, Robert, you were so consistently uncomfortable when, for example, we go to our hotel and we needed a third bed, so we got a cot for Robert, but they said they had no sheets, and so I started asking like if they had brochures for like whale watching tours or newspapers that he could use for sheets, and immediately Robert's like, no, he's being a jerk.
I don't like to fuck with people who serve you. You can fuck with the drunk LSU football player, but you don't fuck with the guy who's working the night shift.
It was just making it more entertaining. Oh, and then when the guy brought the bed in, I did it again, and you were even more upset.
Because it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. He's bringing us a cot for free. You don't want to fuck with
Sean, you were fucking with the IGN PR woman last night, right?
That went wrong, though.
Yeah, see, that's what happened. What happened.
Sean Elliott walks up to this woman and he goes, "You're a girl and you play games?" And he did it.
But it was like the, "Do you play games?" It was that kind of thing, and she was like PR for IGN, and she was, there for Rebel FM had their listener party, and she was hanging out, and it was just stupid. It was just nothing more than to make her feel comfortable by acknowledging that, like, yes, someone here feels for you being in this awkward situation. She put herself in it, so fuck her, but she was there, and then she just didn't react. And then immediately, like, all of you guys were supposed to be like my backup dancers, and y'all fucking split the second, like,
because you were being an idiot.
Came out of my mouth, and so it just was bad. There's not even a punchline.
Well,
to it.
because
It's
the
just
moment
awkward.
you did it, it was like, oh, this is going badly. Bye.
Yeah.
And so I stood there, and she asked me for my business card.
That's
And-
turned
oh,
into
and he-
kind of a weird pickup scene.
And he
almost.
gave her a Ziff Davis business card. And I was like, how do you even have those in your wallet?
It's plausible deniability with that situation. So,
Yeah. All right, so we have a real topic here. And did this come from a question from somebody? Is that how we got this one?
Jeff,
Probably not. That would require too much work.
did you get in Robert's stash?
Not yet.
Wait,
All right, that's after. I'll read the question. Let's see. For those of us who that are no longer, oh no, one of us wrote this. For those of us, maybe I am stoned. I don't
all right.
know. For those of us who are no longer journalist critics, that would be me.
Hey, we're on
Sean, and
TV.
Sean. Ah. Actually, I'm really glad that they did that. Can you guys in the back see us like not looking at that thing? Sorry, there should have been a raised platform, but whatever. One up yours, got one last night.
Yeah.
Whatever, just saying. Okay. For those of us that are no longer journalist critics, do you play games differently now? Do you think about them differently now? Do you actually play PC games now that you're not working for a PC mag? Good question.
Boring.
All right, more diaper porn.
I'm just kidding.
Sean Malloy, you want to answer that question?
Sure, I can do that.
Can you do it like you're not at a Senate hearing? I had no knowledge of that. I don't recall.
Playing PC games.
You came
So I know I did, and now I'm like, why did I come up with that?
So we were talking the other day about how you've been having a lot of fun playing games.
Well, yeah, I mean that's one thing. Like, okay, I was playing Batman: Arkham Asylum the other day. Woo, Batman! And we were going to do it in preparation for the show. We were going to have a segment where we talked about, we were going to do a bunch of playing where we were talking about Batman, which didn't go anywhere, but I was playing it.
I played 30 minutes.
We just realized, I think, that sitting here and talking about games was probably not going to play as well as it would in a normal podcast situation.
So I was playing it like with this deadline in mind, and I hadn't done that in like years. So I found myself like wandering over to find like Riddler trophies, and I would go, I can't do that. I have to turn around. I have to go fight another boss. I have to make more progress into the game, and so I was just not enjoying it as much. And I think that's kind of the big thing is I don't have this deadline looming whenever I'm playing anything. I'm not like thinking like, will this make a good screenshot? Should I save it here? Should I save this spot because I might want to take a picture of it later for the magazine? And my Xbox red ringed. So, and then if I did have like some article due, I would have been freaking out. I mean, I was freaking out anyway because Xbox's red ringing is not a good thing. But I would have been just freaking out like, oh my god, all of my save data is lost. I'm not going to be able to finish this game for my deadline. So I relax about games a lot more. And I think I play a lot fewer of them, and I play them a lot later than I otherwise would. Like I can just kind of sit on something and play it like 6 months later. Whereas before I would be like playing it in preparation for a podcast, and then if you had already played it and I had already missed it, then it'd just be like, well, why bother? I should move on to something new.
Yeah, we kind of had to stay current all the time, but then by necessity, we were playing more superficially because we couldn't finish most of the, like we only finished what we actually reviewed ourselves individually. The rest, it was just sort of like, okay, I got to play this enough so I don't sound like a moron when we podcast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I just find games more enjoyable now. Like, I think there's something perverse about being, forced by a deadline to do something that you really love to do. It's a really entertaining thing. Like, you want to sit around and play games, but when it's like, oh my god, I have to play this game for 14 hours a day, I'm never going to get this in. It's like...
Well, we used to talk about that when we were writing reviews. We used to talk about, like, are we getting resentful of the game just because we have to make the deadline?
And the answer was yes.
It was. So you sort of had to factor that in when you were writing about it. It was like, I can't be mad in the review that, like, I was forced to do this.
What about the reverse, though?
Quickly.
We've like expressed that point of view, but I'm interested also in the opposite side, where knowing that we would have a platform from which to speak about the game and have all these people that were eager to hear our thoughts on it, could it work as an incentive to make us want to play more? Because now in the situation where, at least us three, looking at you, Jeff, where we don't necessarily have the free reign to go and say everything we'd like to say about a game, does that make you play games a little more slowly or fewer games than you otherwise would?
Well, I have to buy them now, so that kind of sucks. We had it really good in the press, all the freebie stuff. So, I don't have Batman yet because it's going to cost. What does that cost still? 50,
it's worth. You need to support it. It's a classic, late August.
I do want it.
Fantastic game.
So, I think I am less critical as I'm playing now. Definitely. I mean, because you're right. I was always thinking about, well, what can I get out of this that I can then write about or talk about on a podcast. So I was always thinking critically as I was playing, and now I can just sit back and enjoy it. So I think I'm actually more forgiving. And it's not because I'm developing now that I feel like some allegiance to the developers. It's more just I don't have to think critically, so I'm not, because I don't want to. It's more fun just to have fun playing.
Okay.
I found By the way, Ryan, you should stand up because he's wearing maybe the last surviving Games for Windows, the official magazine, jersey.
There are at least 4 others in Salvation Armies in the Bay Area, the San Francisco Bay Area. I found when I moved over to design, looking at games, I was less critical, but not because... Not the usual thing of, I now understand what it means to put years and years of work into something and then to have it come out and have people shit on it, whereas with writing at a website or something, you can really fuck up miserably, and then the next week you can correct it, or the next day, depending on it, whereas, when you put the 4 years in and it comes out, it's pretty much all or nothing. But it's not so much that as the ability to appreciate particular aspects of games. So, now I can go in and play Call of Duty 4 and just forget about everything else and just really appreciate the quality of animation, how much hit detection's contributing to the entire thing. And so it's really easy to atomize it that way, which is something I didn't like to do on the press side because, giving the overall experience. But now, since I can pick it apart and say, well, how is this done? What can be learned from this? That's one way. And then on the geekier side, now that I've been learning to use level editors, it's It's like I've been playing Batman, and you go through it, and you just look at all the meshes, and you look at what people have done with them, how they've placed them, how they've tried to hide the repetition and stuff. And so that stuff's fairly boring, I would think, from the consumer side, but that's changed the way.
But it makes you really annoying to play games with. Because I was playing Resident Evil 5 with Sean, and he was calling every single thing that was about to happen. He'd be like, see that switch right there? There's going to be a boss. You're going to have to hit the switch. See, there's a room in there. He's going to burn and set on fire. Like, ruin every single moment in that game.
You could have figured that out, though.
I wasn't trying to. I'm not trying to, like, break the illusion. I play games more dumbly now. Like, I used to play
That's
games,
what
and
I'm
I would have
saying,
to, I'd have to think of something interesting about it. And now I just sit there, and I kind of, like, drool a little bit.
Exactly. And that feels good.
And I'm sort of back to the natural gamer state.
Yeah. It's very liberating to just be able to do that.
Yeah.
And not have to think.
Here's thinking, so I didn't seem so wishy-washy talking, in generalities. I'm going to give one specific example. Does anyone play Killing Floor here? Co-op zombie shooter game available on Steam. I recommend everyone try it as long as you have friends to play it with. It's like $17. The package presentation, very, very 80s. I mean, you'll get hung up if you're going in expecting it to be, something super glossy. The guys put it together really short order. Former mod team that won the Make Something Unreal contest, but not what they did. But I was playing a user-made map, and it happened. There's this mechanic in the game where you can weld doors shut, or you can unweld them. And that basically buys you time as you're fighting the zombies. But what someone who made the custom map did was they said, let's put this door that's insanely difficult to unweld in a part of the map, and what's behind it, we're not going to tell. It's just going to be left up to the player's imagination. And just through that little thing, it wasn't just, hey, this is fun, because we did spend the entirety of the game saying, let's go back there and try to open the door and find out what's in it. And that was fantastic. But then on the gameplay level, it created this really interesting tension between strategic and tactical thinking, because to sit there and try to weld that door meant taking some guys off with their guns, letting other guys, get in a situation, staying in a single place, staying away from the traitor that you're going to need to access at the end of the round. But little things like that now, I just feel better able to appreciate them and not getting hung up on, some of the other.
It's amazing to me how much this is like the actual Brodio, because I'm sitting here and I'm staring at you and I'm not really listening to what you're saying. I'm thinking, I've got to come up with something to clown on Sean about because this is boring.
Well, we've got a mix of like total insanity ready and whatever.
Nice. So, how about it? I didn't bring anything. I didn't prepare. Yeah.
That's great, Robert.
Yeah.
Why don't
We only had about 5 months.
I do have donuts, though. Does anyone else need another donut?
let's use this opportunity to make Ryan speak. I was really impressed, Ryan, that you were going to do this at all, because you've grown so much over the
Right,
years,
on the Geekbox.
I mean, at least 3 or 4 inches.
Well,
It's kind of creepy.
you were the
actually.
most reluctant person to even get on a podcast in a room where no one could see you, where you just had a microphone to your face. And now, here you are. And it's your time to say something other than what the hell.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess when we did our podcast, I've always been sort of content to let you guys sit back and talk about all the crazy things you come up with. I was sort of forced to start talking because you all left. And I started my podcast basically because I got laid off and was terrified and I had to find some way to keep my name out there, and so now I'm talking a little more on that one.
Yeah,
A little bit.
Except
We're
I love the
very proud of you,
moments.
Ryan.
I love the moments when we would talk about something that would totally infuriate you, and you would suddenly go on some sort of crazy diatribe because we would be talking about like a comic book, and you would lose your fucking mind about it. Like, I can't believe this shit's so horrible. Freak out. So those are. I used to try to think of ways to try to go to you, and then people would think I was like mean to you. It's like, why is he always picking on Ryan? I was just trying to get him to go into like Psycho Ryan mode.
Well, why are you such a jerk? He's so mean.
Everyone knows he's the jerk.
Why you all hate me?
Here's the jerk thing. Did you think EpicWin.com was jerky?
Did I?
Yeah.
I thought that was awesome.
So
You guys
wanna explain it?
You guys are the ones who didn't follow through on it.
This is what I'm moving toward, Jeff. Give me a second, man.
Okay. Sorry, I blew your segue. I'll just be quiet.
At some point, like, I was in the same situation, well, not the same situation, but where I'm not on a podcast anymore. I don't have my name out there, and I was like, I'm just vanishing from the world. And because part of doing all this is the reason why there's so many podcasts out there and why everyone's twittering about how there's people waiting in line to see him is that it's just this ego opiate, to have people willing to listen to you. And when that dried up, I sat there and tried to concoct a scheme with my great friend Rory Mannion on how we could get our name in the limelight again. And it was the idea was, I think it was pretty fantastic to pat myself on the back, but we mangled it. And so we came up with this notion that we'd make this fake website called epicwin.com. We'd make a Facebook page for it and a Twitter page for it. And all of the descriptions for what the site was, proposing to be were just insanely douchey. I might have, for our original call for write, I mean, it was just like, everything was like epic, do you want to be part of an epic podcast and this kind of shit. And so what we did is once we had the call for writers, we made the site, of course no one paid any attention. So we turned to Robert and we're like, Robert, we need you to get the word out there so we get some marks that we can start to play with. And
I feel very guilty.
And that was the first foolish thing, because Robert, you have a very discriminating fan base. And
Clearly.
so instead of the kids that we wanted, I should also give you the time frame. This was very early in this year, and this was, the recession was on everyone's minds. Tons of people were out of work and thinking about how to get work, and here we are promising people this opportunity not only to work, but to work in the game industry. And so we didn't just get the kids that we wanted,
Riot!
Well, and it wasn't just that, we were really gonna humiliate them, because we were asking them, once they started sending us stuff, we're like, hey, we're gonna give you this press release and we want you to write a review on it based on the press release, because we were implying that now and then we need to, placate our sponsors, and we were gonna say, join our podcast. And the whole podcast thing was, they were gonna get on with us. And we had power bars that we had bought because they're just so ghastly to chew, and the whole time they were speaking, we're just going to sit there gnawing on them through Skype and coughing and sneezing and asking them to read test segments, like one was called Made of Wind. And the whole premise was that you just read words that are literally made of wind, like winter or windows or speed. And so imagine you're this dude out of a job in February 2009, and someone in the background's like, and you're like, window. So, and I was still, Rory uncharacteristically grew the conscience first and told me we can't do this. And I was like, we'll just get the ones that are least likely to commit suicide. And he eventually prevailed, and as time passed, I saw the folly in it because, like I say, since there were people that Robert basically recommended to us, they were really just legitimate inquiries from earnest people.
I didn't recommend them. I just tweeted that there was this new site if anyone wanted to try to write for them. Yeah, I didn't say, hey, you should
but I
go
still
to this
like,
site. It's gonna be rad.
I still like the idea. We actually made a whole website for it. We're gonna call it the Distinguished Gentleman's Trolling Conservatory. And we had like this grand plans for we just post all this media from the stuff that we did, and I don't know. I felt bad about it, so I didn't do it.
It's kind of like a confession more than a story.
Yeah, the guilt's been like
Wait, what
weighing
do you have
heavily.
to read?
Nah, there's not. I just looked at it. There's like our quick notes for how to.
You didn't have any of the descriptions of the site?
There were actually a few. There was one guy. Hopefully, you're not sitting out here right now. And he made it clear. He's like, I've been
Everybody's
doing.
eating candy except us.
But please don't throw candy.
No, that was the hint, to throw candy.
Oh.
Oh, God.
What?
I don't want shrimp chips.
I remember when I was a kid in Grand Prairie, Texas, we always had a parade once a year, and it was this really tiny parade. It would be like the firemen and the policemen and the mayor and stuff. And I used to always want to go to it because they would have just one section of the parade where they had people with buckets of candy, and they would throw the candy to the kids, and I was this like little fat kid, and I would run alongside the people who were throwing the candy and try to get the most candy possible. I'm still pretty much like that.
Thank you for the candy. Oh, also I should say, there's a guy who I met at Gamescom. I don't know, I forget his real name, but his Twitter name is @the Dutch Slayer. And in Germany, he came to the booth at EA and he told me ahead of time he was going to bring me some candy. And when he came to the EA booth, he brought literally 10 pounds of candy.
And I didn't see a fucking ounce of it.
No, you didn't. And that's what I want to confess.
I'm not going to eat on the mic.
That the Cologne, Germany Hilton hotel staff got 10 pounds of candy. It was too much. I couldn't bring 10 pounds of candy on the airplane. It was ridiculous.
Why didn't you bring 1
Customs
pound?
is like, what are you doing?
Exactly. So
I think you would have actually had to declare it as an importer or something. They would think you were going to sell it.
it
as
was a lot of
business.
candy, right?
Yeah.
So I just left it there, and I'm sorry. I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Ooh, actually, these are really good at first, but the aftertaste is really foul. What is it? I don't know. I don't know how to read that. It's like Korean Funyuns. Okay. Nice. I'll try anything twice.
All right. Going along our agenda here, I think we should do the I Love Shooters thing. Don't you think?
What is that?
You're frowning. It was your idea. All right. Well, one thing we talked about on the Brodeo a lot was game writing. Don't want to go on and on about it because we did go on and on about it for 2.5 years. But we got a lot of, we read a lot of bad stuff. A lot of it was not from our own magazine and website, but some of it was. And there was one. Well, what's the origin of this actually?
You're just gonna feel nothing good's coming of this.
Should we just bag on it?
You're just gonna feel bad. I learned my lesson.
bad.
That's why I told you my lesson,
No,
and
I'm
here you
not.
go right now.
I'm not gonna feel bad. This is awesome. So there's this guy at the office who I bear no ill will. He worked for one of Ziff's other business groups, and he had been bugging me for a while to write reviews. He had been published in one of our other magazines, so I figured I'll assign him this low priority game and see how he is. And if I need to kill it, I'll kill it. And boy, did I ever need to kill this review. This is the first. I'm just going to read the first paragraph, and you can imagine how the rest of it turned out. It is for Full Spectrum Warrior 10 Hammers. And this is the intro of a review that was submitted to me for publication in Computer Gaming World.
Ryan, let me remind though, who solicited the review from this writer?
Who? I said I would give him a chance.
Who told you that wasn't the wisest choice that you'd ever made?
I think you probably did.
I don't think there was no way to know until he submitted writing.
Dude, there are ways to know. Like fetal alcohol syndrome is visible from at least 50 yards away.
I got nothing. Yeah.
Sometimes I say mean things, I don't mean them.
He definitely means them.
I don't. Actually, I said that today because we were just sitting in the hotel and twittering about how you're watching John and Kate. And it was the first time I'd seen the show.
You turned it on. You turned it on. You made us watch John and Kate for 2 fucking hours.
I didn't fuck that bullshit. You're lying.
And he woke up. First thing he did when he woke up this morning was turn on infomercials, and we sat around watching infomercials all morning long.
Those were powerful entertainment. But John and Kate. But so anyway, John and Kate comes on, and I wasn't familiar with the show or any of the people on it, and I saw the John guy, and I asked if he had a superfluous chromosome, and people. But the problem was that someone responded on Twitter, and the response was just like, "He's Korean," and I didn't mean that. No, I understand that. It was but there's no backing out of it. It was just a classic case of putting your foot in your mouth. Like, no,
Yeah.
So this is what we always did to Ryan on the podcast. We tell him to talk, and then we'd interrupt him and go off on a tangent, and then the podcast went in, and he never got.
Let him read the damn review.
We'll bring it back around. Bring it back around.
I'm bringing it back around.
All right.
Okay. So as I said, I bear this individual no ill will because he is just not a writer, and this is why. So the first paragraph of this Full Spectrum Warrior review. Wow.
Wow, period.
It's wow, full stop. When asked by reviews editor Ryan Scott, asked me to review this game, he asked me if I like shooters.
It's worse than I remember. How many? Wait, read that one again, just for emphasis.
Wow. When asked by reviews editor Ryan Scott, asked me to review this game, he asked me if I like shooters. I love shooters.
All caps.
Half-Life, Fear, Unreal Tournament, and the SWAT series are at the top of my list. Full Spectrum Warrior is so not a shooter. Squad tactical at best with not much control over your squad. That
In
is
the paragraph.
Read a little more.
Oh, okay. Those of you not familiar with the original FSW, let me give you the basics. You are the overseer of squad of 4 soldiers to start. Team leader, automatic rifleman, grenadier, and rifleman. Automatic rifleman, grenadier, and rifleman. What I mean by overseer is that FSW has a third-person feel to it. Not at any time to have true movement or fire control over any of your men.
It reads like the instructions on like a fart bomb or something. You know? You ever get those in like Chinatown in San Francisco? You know it's just gonna stink, but like how you understand that other than the fact that there's an ass on the package.
I think it just reads like he wrote it in another language and ran it through Alta Vista.
This is a powerful review. Wow.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we never published this.
Yeah. Did we actually ever tell him we weren't publishing it, or did we just go through an awkward,
You know,
like...
I told him, I think this was like some packed holiday issue, and I told him that, I cut it for space, which happens sometimes. I didn't have the heart to like tear into him because,
We're just doing it in public now.
Well, no, I mean, I'm not saying what this person's name is or anything, but I just, enough time's passed that I figure I finally read this like office legend. This got passed around the office.
It did get passed around, yeah.
Boy, did it.
The internal email's a little brutal.
Oh, man. So this is why we need editors, and this is why some guy at our get together last night. He you were probably in this room, if so, hello. He came up to me and he had a business card that's like freelance writer, and I asked him if he could write well, and he was like, I think so, and I was like, what makes you think that? I have to ask people this question because of things like this. If you write like this, please keep it to yourself.
A lesson for us all.
Yeah.
Yeah, at EA, like, I don't know if Sean, you experience this too, but I find myself like having to be the de facto apologist for every lame game review and preview and article on the web now and in magazines because I used to be in the press. So I probably
haven't apologize for it when you spent your entire career in the press making fun of it.
Well, that's what I always say. But they always say, look, did you go to IGN today, Jeff? Look at that article. What do you think about that? I'm like, well, it's lame. I know. Okay? I mean, there's a lot of great IGN stuff. I'm just saying.
Yeah, you better hurry up and back that shit up quick.
Right now.
Don't get yourself in trouble again.
It's a wonderful site. Actually, it is. But no.
Oh, that was convincing.
No, it is. But really, it could be every day. It would be a different site. I don't have to single anyone out. It could be Kotaku.
So are you saying all the sites are really horrible?
To the people on the dev side, yeah, they all suck. They don't know games. They don't know what they're talking about. I mean, that's the general attitude. Am I wrong, gentlemen?
Wrong. You're wrong.
Really?
I don't want to speak for the studio that I work at now because this is totally unrelated to it, but I can say that, yeah, there are numerous favorite writers among different staff people that we have.
Oh, they do all like Sean Baby in my group.
He's universally popular, especially when he's writing about MMA. Mixed martial arts stuff. If you haven't read it, he did an awesome, a number of awesome stories on crack.com, but that's aside the point.
It's a very odd thing to be on that side and to see that relationship to the press. And quite often, I've seen previews of our own game that I've been working on, and it is really interesting to see somebody spend the day on the press side looking at the game, go back and write the piece, and there's factual errors in it. They just didn't get the stuff right. I know why that happens, and in fact, the errors that these guys are pointing out were completely innocent and no big deal at all. But you understand why the developers who are working so hard on all these minute details want to see those tiny minute details represented correctly in the press. So I get their frustration. But maybe it is different where you are, but there's definitely this, like, the gaming press doesn't know what they're talking about that I get constantly.
I am not going there, and you're in deep shit right now. You spend the next 5 minutes thinking about the letter of apology you're going to write tomorrow?
To who?
On your flight home?
To who?
I'm
You?
gonna move us along.
Who am I apologizing to?
I think he's joking.
You never know with Sean. He's always griefing me.
John is pretty much always joking. You just got to assume.
That's kind of true.
Yeah.
The other thing that I want to say about that, about moving to the other side, is that when I started working on the dev side, and they gave me some stuff to do that was just totally like, the nightmare where you're like, in school in your underwear and everybody's written the paper and you didn't even know there was a paper assigned. I mean, that's like what some of my days were like on the Sims team. They were giving me stuff. I was like, I don't know how to do this. I totally don't. And there was one day where that was like that. And I was looking at my monitor, and they were like telling me, all right, it would be great if you could finish up this level in 2 weeks. And I'm like, what level? I don't even know what you're talking about. What did you think I could do here? I'm a writer. There was one point in the day I was having a real low, and I was like, almost had my head on the monitor. I was like really having a tough time, like going, oh, what the fuck did I do coming here? And one of the big guys, a sort of mid-level exec, walked by through our group at EA, and he saw me, and I visibly looked miserable, and he said, "See, it's hard making games, fucker."